Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon by reviewing some sort of documentary that I watched recently. And I did promise in one of my previous videos that I was going to get on this because I did review talk about a certain song or whatever that I almost didn't make it into the movie, which is something they actually spoke about in the documentary, by the way. I know I'm speaking about Frozen again. I know. People get mad all they want, so whatever. I'm doing it anyway. So yeah, get out of my back. So I just thought I'd do this because it's definitely something I've been meaning to do anyway, and that's what I'm going to do. And then on top of that, I don't review documentaries that often, really, like hardly at all. Yeah, a documentary type thing is something that's I've seldomly do, I guess. Yes, technically, this is a six-part episode mini TV series that he did, so it's like documentary show kind of thing, I guess. But that's fine, I suppose. Like I said, I don't review documentary type stuff that often to begin with, anyway. So for this six-episode documentary miniseries that they did, they basically took the viewers behind the scenes of making Frozen 2, which is of course is a special Disney Plus series that debuted on June 25th of 2002. And this explores the idea that it starts less than a year after the premiere of Frozen 2. So they've been making this thing for quite some time. All six episodes will be exploring this kind of a thing. Each episode will be roughly around 20 to 40 minutes in length for each, so it's something you could binge watch if you like, and it's still available on Disney Plus for the time being anyway. At the time of this recording, it is still on there. I'm not sure if how long really, but I'm just letting you know. The filmmakers, artists, songwriters, the cast and crew pretty much opened their doors to the cameras to reveal the challenges and the breakthroughs that they had to go through for the creativity and the complexity of creating an animated film. It's a lot harder than you will believe. So there was that. So we get to see that the series will center on these individuals, this crew, the director and whatnot, the creative officer in chief and whatnot, the voice actresses and voice actors, as they would have to go through this. So, and it also would explore maybe some of their personal lives as well. So they will have their own reason as to why they want to do this kind of a thing. So yeah, but one aspect of this little documentary that surprised me is that, and letting you know right now, folks, the very thing I'm gonna bring up just for a moment, just for a split moment here, is something that's rather heavy. If this type of subject matter is a bit much and you can't handle it, I suggest leaving this very second. So I'll give you a split moment to decide if you want to stay or not. So, okay, anybody? Okay, alright. Anybody still here? This goes to show you, even with a high profile project with this famous company, does not prevent some tragedy from occurring. It involves a relative of these individuals, a son to be more exact, had unfortunately died. So yeah, suddenly this video has taken a much darker turn, unfortunately, but it's something that did happen, folks. So unfortunately, this just makes this entire thing even more complicated. It's this individual who I'm referring to, folks. Yes, a tragedy had occurred when they were doing something with this, of course. And yes, obviously, he had his own artistic talent. He was a singer, So of course, he brought a lot of smiles, he brought a lot of energy, a lot of fun to people. So he will forever be known for that. It's just unfortunately that something did occur, so yeah, that happened unfortunately. A good amount of time anyway, discussing that kind of a thing. So yeah, it's pretty heartwarming and kind of sad that it would have actually occurred. But, things do happen. Everything is happy-go-lucky when it comes to making these movies. Things can and will go wrong, unfortunately. That's the reality of it. Even in regards with the actress who voiced the character of Anna, did have a bit of trouble. And yeah, even she had actually become rather emotional during a certain recording of a section of the film. So, and they actually showed that for a moment in the show. The bit I'm referring to is when they were recording for the song "Do the Right Thing." When Anna herself was pretty much in slumps, where she basically lost all hope and felt that it's not gonna get any better. It's gonna just end here. She felt like her life it's done. It's finished. It kicks the bucket. The character felt that her life is done for. And the actress really felt that. The actress really felt like a certain type of anxiety. So the little feeling, little down, really, really down, was kept in the movie. Which I guess could be a good touch because it felt more genuine in the film like that. So there was some good, genuine emotion with these characters. So yeah, that's definitely a good thing. It was not all bubblegum and sunshine behind the scenes kind of a thing. So yeah, it makes the whole production feel more raw and more genuine in some ways, which maybe you don't always see when it comes to the Disney stuff, as this behind the scenes do coverage from this company, and of course everything is so carefully packaged, obviously, but it's nicely touched upon throughout this documentary, and yes, it does make it feel like a breath of fresh air, which, of course, I have to admit, is a nice touch. This entire thing, if you put it all together, is nearly 4 hours altogether. If you really want to just watch it straight through, so yeah, that's there, and it's pretty interesting to see how a CGI animated film gets made. And yes, you can say they definitely want to have this film look really nice, and it gets to show that the animators really have to do a lot of crunch time. Why the first one took quite some time to be made, the second one, they have to really put a lot of time, a lot of crunch time together. So a lot of the time, the animators might be stressed out because there's a lot of time they had to stay in the studio and make it work. So yeah, that's definitely something they had to do. It shows the process of making the animation work, showing all the details, and yes, there was a crazy amount of detail that was shown in the animated film, and they're showing the process how a lot of people put a lot of stuff to work, and that's highly appreciated. While I do, yes, I do miss the hand-drawn animation, the old traditional style of filmmaking, sure, but I do appreciate there's actually a lot of work being placed in the movie when it comes to the animation. It's very smooth, and yeah, you can really tell a lot of it paid off. There's a lot of detail in the hair, the clothing, basically everything. So yeah, that's something I can definitely say. I do have to show a lot of appreciation. So yeah, this is definitely something that they done. I do kind of wish I could have seen like a behind the scenes for the first film, but I guess this would do. I did like the film, and it just comes off surprising that it's not a direct to video kind of thing. Thankfully, it's not a direct to video animated film. I'm bringing that up because since Disney is known for making their sequels be well, the vast majority of them be direct to video stuff. I could have easily made an entire video on this alone. I'm just gonna list right here, like on a screen, just list some of them, I guess. I could have easily done something about this for the entire video. And most of them are terrible. Most of these are just utter garbage, unfortunately. But these were just quick cash-ins with no care at all. They just were quickly rushed. And some of these were made like decades after the original, if not several years. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you think about it. If something was never intended to have a sequel, just leave it alone. I mean, granted, you could bring up the same argument with Frozen 2. It was never intended to be a franchise of any kind, shape, or form, but they managed to make it work. Anyway, despite that, trying to have a tight continuity to the original film, and I really attempted to make everything tie up. And so I do appreciate the fact that the the script writer for these films, the people who worked on this, was trying to make it sure that everything matched up. They were trying to make sure there's no loose ends or whatever. And if there were any loose ends, they're trying to have any questions from the first one to be answered in this one. So the fact that there was some actual effort in that regard is actually highly appreciative. Which does surprise me because, like I said before, most of these films that they will make when it comes to like spin-offs, sequels, or whatever you want, prequels, whatever you want to call them, usually these direct-to-video animations are usually just direct-to-video. And yeah, this is a good thing, I guess, trying to keep the continuity as tight as possible, which of course is definitely a good thing. And that's the thing there. And I mean, they should do the best to make a good sequel because the first film of the franchise, the original Frozen, became one of the highest grossing films of all time up until the second one came around and claimed that for itself. So yeah, the script for this film better be good in that case, or if not great. So yeah, they really place a lot of effort in that regard, of course. And yeah, they brought over as many of the original crew from the first film as much as humanly possible, which of course is definitely a positive thing there. And yeah, there's been plenty of sequels that they made when it comes to the theatrical films that they released. So yes, quite a bit, folks. It is quite a bit they did. I know for whatever reason, DC's not very good when it comes to starting a franchise. When it comes to starting a franchise, I noticed Disney, I mean, I like the company and all, but they're not exactly great when it comes to starting a franchise. So, but guess this is a rare case where the sequel was actually pretty good, and I really did appreciate it. As mentioned earlier, folks, even they admitted it that they had to do a lot of crunch time for not just for the animation, but also for the voice acting, for the music, for the script writing, a lot of crunch time. So that has spent a lot of time in the studio itself. They showed it and they also admitted it. And yes, of course, they also confessed that there was a lot of stress. To make sure they have a successful sequel, not just financially speaking, but also have a film that will actually succeed in the reviews, having a good positive feedback, which they did. When it comes to the film, this film did receive a lot of good critical response, which of course, which anybody wants that for their film. But for the most part, the thing that people really care about is if a film makes a lot of money, which Frozen 2 obviously did. But to add to the whole thing, it also helped the fact that this film got a lot of positive reviews, at the very least for the most part. So that's definitely a good thing there. So what does mean that when it comes to sequels, Disney would actually start shaping up and making better sequels? I'm not quite too sure about that, even though I did like the film, obviously, but I'm still not quite too sure, really. But only the future can tell. That's all I'm going to say. I know that's incredibly vague. I know that doesn't exactly answer anything, really, which, yeah, I do realize, but only the future can tell. And when it comes to franchises, I know they bought the rights for the film series Star Wars, but I'm not counting that because I don't hate the films. I know that's not a popular opinion, but The Disney Star Wars films are actually pretty good. Yeah, no, a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but hey, I like them, and that's what counts. With Han Solo and the Last Jedi being my least favorites. Solo and the Last Jedi were definitely my two least favorites of the bunch. Really, if I'm gonna be completely honest here, but I still enjoy them anyway. So point being, I wouldn't count Star Wars because this franchise has already been established way before Disney ever bought the rights for it. But they seem to be doing pretty good so far, so hopefully most of these films will be good, I guess. Yeah, they did produce some other good sequels as well that were theatrically released. Sure, I'm not going to deny that, but those are too few and too in between. For every one good sequel, there's a truck ton of bad sequels or spin-offs or whatever. And yes, I didn't forget about Wreck-It Ralph too, which honestly I didn't like really. I didn't care for it. I didn't think it was very good. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is what I just said. For one good sequel, there's like 50 or 80 or even 90 bad sequels or spin-offs, prequels, or whatever you want to call them. So, I mean, you can say that for any company, of course. And Disney's not the only one to be, guilty of this, obviously. So, there's that. So, the first episode of this documentary, within 11 months until the world premiere, the filmmakers, of course, would screen the rough draft version of the film to the people who worked there, of course, and the artists. It's clear that there's much work to do, obviously, but there's still gonna be some tweak ups, of course. Then for episode two of this, there's gonna be the songwriters. They have to do their own thing, of course, and just show how much they would do, obviously. And yes, of course, and then for episode three, there'll be some more screener to talk about to prove some sort of movements and whatnot, the music, make sure everything goes along together. So basically, each episode will show a sort of progress of the entire thing, which, of course, is a good thing, showing the entire thing. And obviously, the six-part production will take a look at what it takes into making this Disney film, from art and story to music, voice acting. Each Disney film will require storyboarding, of course, imagination, and a bit of fun, obviously. So, of course, just around the time when the film was almost done wrapping up its production, obviously there's going to be a lot of hype for this, of course. And that's definitely something they have to do, of course. So if there's any story elements that may be a bit confusing or what have you, there would be, of course, trying to tweak it up even further, and there'd be a lot of openness to showing the progress of the film from the very start. So any there's any there won't be any pushback there. At the very least, trying to keep the delayment to the bare minimum at the very least, I guess. Because when you think about it, whether people want to accept this or not, but this is a business. The film industry is a business. Whether people want to accept it or not, that's pretty obvious. Of course, it's a business, but they have to take their time to make a good quality work. But at the same time, make sure not to take too much time, because if they delay it too much, that can basically shoot themselves in the foot, so to speak. That can backfire, is what I'm saying here. So we get to see a lot of people working on this, of course. And they're gonna have some conversations about the characters, obviously, and it's something that they have to do. So, of course, everybody has to listen to each other. Of course, everybody has to listen to each other. Frozen 2 has been in production since roughly around September of 2016. So, yeah, they have to basically do a lot of work. And that team was on ground for the last remaining year-ish before the release in 2019. So yeah, a lot of hard press going on here, folks. It was explained that they shot for about 115 days, which is quite a bit, and ended up with around 1,000, over 1,000 hours of footage. So have to explain that while there are some conversations early on that maybe they should start sooner, but the thing is that the idea couldn't come up until 2018. The animation process, of course, will get pretty difficult, and trying to keep things going, of course, and to keep going until the very end. The early stage in animation, of course, is not going to be looking as sharp, obviously. They have to get things started and get as close as humanly possible to the goal, of course. Further along the line you get, so of course, they want to saw this kind of progress during the documentary. And yes, it's stressful, like I was saying, it's stressful, of course. And yeah, things could get rather interesting where there aren't many options anymore, really. So yeah, talk about some crunch time as I was expecting. So, because the team wasn't going to be there every day, they had to come up with some sort of rough idea of the schedule, and they had to do their best to pick up and choose the big events they needed to film. Things like the story meetings with other Disney filmmakers, the crew screenings, voice acting, recording with the crew that couldn't be missed, and whatnot. However, the thing is that the filmmaking progress came off rather fluid, and going off a schedule didn't always work out quite exactly like they wanted. But if there's any bumps in the road, of course, they can try to work around that, of course, on which occasionally happen here and there. And obviously, they want to make sure everything goes as smoothly as humanly possible, of course. But if this sounds like chaos, that's because it is. It was very hectic throughout the entire thing. Well, hey, what can you do? This is something that a lot of people would be waiting for, and a lot of people want this product to be a good thing. So they basically had to do what they had to do, work around some things. Not everything went their way. So yeah, obviously making any kind of movie is gonna be a long, difficult process, of course. So it's all part of a very strategic planning that they have to go through, obviously. And then go through some courses, of course, and then they would go up to the studio and discover that nothing planned was happening that very day, and then the whole schedule would have to change as a result. So they're trying to make sure everything goes as smoothly as humanly possible. Which, of course, is understandable, obviously. So, but the thing is that all the while, almost nothing was off limits for the crew. So, yeah, the Disney filmmakers was giving the directors the brutal, honest notes after a screen or two and whatnot. And yeah, of course, there was gonna be the whole tragic backstory I wanted to explain earlier with the one individual. So, yeah. Stuff, of course, unfortunately does happen, even if somebody's making a highly successful franchise, working on this installments. That in itself doesn't prevent things from happening, unfortunately. Things do happen, whether it's with a friend, or relative, or what have you. This kind of stuff, unfortunately, does happen from occasionally, I guess you can say. So, things do happen. And, of course, you do have to deal with that. So, it's unfortunate that some people will have to, deal with that in one way or another. I mean, obviously, people have different ways of coping with certain things, of course. So, this, of course, obviously can lead to a certain addiction, like maybe drinking too much beer, or, when it comes to alcoholism, or, stuff like that in that nature. So, people cope with it different ways. While drinking alcohol in itself isn't necessarily bad, but you just have to be moderate about it, of course. But yeah, things like this do happen. So, like I said, they're already on a very, very, very tight schedule. So, yeah. Like I said before, I'm not sure how much longer this will stay on Disney Plus, or or even if it's gonna be on there for a limited time. I'm not even sure if it's ever gonna be released on Blu-ray or DVD. So I guess catch this while you still can. I guess. So anyway, another thing I'd like to bring up is the fact that there's a lot of research that was done for this, and yes, they actually went to some places to do a lot of research for this film, which is actually shown in this show as well. Each episode would focus upon various aspects of the production, which does make sense considering the fact that this is something that's going to be worked upon by lots and lots and lots of people. So yeah, this is pretty much a big budget film. So of course, there's going to be some sort of research done to make sure that this film is done properly. Of course, there's going to have a lot of great audio, a lot of ways to record the music. Of course, there's going to be rehearsals when it comes to music because they want to make sure that the music is done right. Obviously, Disney's known for making a lot of music code type stuff anyway, especially when it comes to their animated films. So of course, to make sure that they have the proper audio recording equipment and have the songs be recorded properly, which they also show in this series of episodes. So that's definitely a great thing there. Props for them trying to put the effort, of course, obviously. The voice acting is also brought up as well. Not just the music, but the audio for the voice acting is also spoken about. So yeah, lots of work. This goes to show you that making a movie isn't exactly easy, even if it's animated, obviously. So that's definitely something there you can look into, folks. Which I did like. I liked what they were trying to do. And I can say that it's definitely something I don't mind watching again. It does show the people in this series of episodes trying to work around what they have. So that's something I say is a good thing because of the fact that it's showing them that they're really putting some efforts into it. So this documentary series is to explore the hard work and imagination, art, fun, and of course intensity that does go into making one of the most uh, highly successful films of all time. So he's going to follow the director, writer, chief creator, among everyone else, as it shows that the heartbreaking creativity that goes through this movie. And yes, it's obviously a bumpy ride. But of course, there's going to be some complications along the way, but it's all worth the while. And I can't express enough that this is definitely something that's worth watching. I did enjoy it, of course, so it's something I wouldn't mind watching again. Enjoyed the fact that this series really dived right into the world where the filmmakers would have to go through a lot to make this film highly successful, and that's what they definitely did here. They put out so much heart into it, and they put so much effort into it to make sure this film is good. And in a lot of ways, they succeeded. It really came off like an honest to heart discussion kind of a thing as they go in depth with these production. And it really shows. And that's great. A lot of effort's been placed into it, folks. It really, really shows. So, yeah, I would definitely say check this out if you haven't already. Anyway, I will definitely say I'll watch it again, like I just mentioned. I will give this an overall rating of a 7.5 out of 10. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10 for me. And of course, as always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time,